She's probably rewatching a rom-com, crying at the same scene again. She's probably convinced Disney is a personality trait, and she's probably two steps ahead of you on the blacklist. Today, we're breaking down pop culture assumptions, what people watch, why they watch it, and how they style it all. I brought in the one person who actually does this full time on social media. Welcome back to another episode of She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. We're going to get right into it because today's conversation is one you probably want to hit the save button on. Just a friendly reminder, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or expert in human behavior. This is a judgment-free assumption checking zone. Take what resonates and leave the rest. I'm so excited that Rachel Corradine is here on She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. I'm going to pass it right over to her so she can introduce herself and let you all know a little bit about her.
I am Rachel.Corradine on Instagram, YouTube, and most recently TikTok. Uh, Still trying to figure out TikTok, but I love to be able to discuss fashion, film. I recently moved to Philadelphia, so I share some Philly finds and some local places to eat. And if you hang out with me in stories, then you'll see a lot more of like my lifestyle and what I kind of do more day to day. It's definitely less polished, more hanging out. So you'll see my dog Pancake. You'll see some recipes I'm trying to cook, and then you'll see some of like my husband. He's there.
I love that. So we'll also make sure at the end we'll go through and spell out her handle for you. So anyone who wants to go give her a follow and check out her socials, that will all be there for you at the end of the episode. So, for listeners who are used to tuning in, a lot of times I do rapid fire at the end, but I thought that it would be fun to switch it up and actually do our rapid fire questions first. So, we're going to go through some questions for Rachel and we're going to get started. So, how often do you watch movies or TV purely for style?
Probably I don't think I go into watching either a movie or show purely from a fashion lens, but I think as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I like that outfit. Oh, I like that outfit. And then to like my husband's dismay, I'm like pausing or rewinding to be like, okay, I need to get my phone and I need to take like a quick photo of this so that later I can like try to find out like, okay, well, where is this outfit from? Could I actually source and buy the actual piece? Or am I just stuck trying to find like a different version of it? Or if it's too expensive, do I need to find something that's, more within my budget? There are definitely shows that are more style forward, like right now Bridgerton's everywhere. Emily in Paris is more current day. I would say for the most part I go into watching something almost completely blind, and then as I'm watching it I am like, oh, that's really cute, especially some of like the long-standing TV shows that have like 3 to 10 seasons, and it's more people wearing like their everyday style. I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I would have never thought to style, that top with those bottoms, or I wouldn't have thought that like that dress and that print would look so good. I need it. Yeah.
I love that. I have to say, when it comes to television style, I am like so mesmerized when I watch The Nanny, and I am that person who's like pausing and like screenshotting, and then I go online and I'm like, where can I find something like
No,
this?
Banannie is golden. She's great. I mean, if you think about like Sex in the City, Sarah Jessica Parker throughout like the entire show, um, these are just like gorgeous, gorgeous outfits that the patterns and the fun textures. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, up next, what motivated you to start styling outfits based on movies?
Honestly, I would just say because naturally I am, when I'm watching shows, pausing and trying to find it out. I'm just like, oh yeah, like this is something that I already do. Why can't I share it? And I can't be the only one that does this, so maybe I can help somebody else who maybe has a harder time trying to find it, or maybe they don't even know what they like about it. Do I like the pattern? Do I like the silhouette? And then I'm able to either give them those two options, or I'm able to like actually source something that's so close. Over I want to say maybe a year ago is when I first started the like series of Rachel Recreates, where I actually did a deep dive into like nostalgic movies and really tried to figure out, okay, like how can I source pieces that really embody Clueless almost to the T, like to the fit, to the color. Or the first one I did was Miss Congeniality, and I still remember when I first did that one, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, the Lady Liberty, like that's so perfect." And it's not a Lady Liberty costume. I did get like the crown and the torch as like a pack, but like the actual dress is just a dress. And I don't know, it made me feel good too.
I love that. That's so fun. All right, so she's probably talking to other guys. It's all about assumptions that people make. And a lot of times they're wrong, sometimes they're correct. But if you could finish this assumption, women who love rom-coms are blank.
I mean, I think women that love rom-coms are probably some of the best people because even if you are somebody who's more pessimistic, I still think deep down you enjoy a rom com because there are those moments of self doubt in a rom com. Like there is an emotional arc. And I feel like people want that hope, whether or not the rom com truly ends with love, which, you know, pretty much 10 times out of 10 they do. I still feel like people want to root for the underdog. They want to root for the person that feels lost because I feel like most people themselves go through phases where they are unsure of themselves. They are feeling lost. They just don't know what to do or what choices to make. And I feel like if you can sit down and watch, you know, a rom com for an hour and a half, then you see that because sometimes these movies are over the course of 2 weeks, but then other times they're over the course of years. So I don't know. I just would say hopeful.
That's a very good one. I love how you finished that. If you had to live in one wardrobe forever, would you choose Notting Hill or Bridget Jones's Diary?
So this one I did think about for a while. So Notting Hill has probably one of my favorite outfits in it. It's her first outfit where she's in the black beret and she's in this black leather trench and a white baby tee. And I think they're like black jeans, black trousers. And she looks gorgeous. You can wear that, I personally think, in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. Like you can wear this whenever. And maybe the fit changes slightly, but that is an iconic outfit. With that being said, I think there's so much more to play with within Bridget Jones's full wardrobe that would align more with me as a person because not only when she's home is she dressing more for comfort, when she's out and about, maybe her looks aren't super polished like in Notting Hill because that girl is a, you know, she's an actress, like that's her thing. She's always in the spotlight. Bridget Jones is more relatable, more real. There's more comfort in what she's wearing. And even when she does dress up, I think there's like some publishing event or there's something, she wears a little black dress. I mean, what is more iconic than the little black dress? So I would have to say probably Bridget Jones.
All right. If you had your main character moment out in the spotlight out of every celebrity you could choose, whose closet are you rating?
Okay, so this one, hands down, I already know. I touched on it before. Sarah Jessica Parker, the person, because in all of her contracts, she's been able to take her wardrobe from every single thing she's ever done. Like that is in her contract. She was told that at the very beginning that that's what she should do. And so she has and owns everything from all of her time at, Sex in the City, as well as all her other movies that she's done. She has those pieces, those are within her wardrobe. So even though a lot of the outfits aren't practical and I don't think I would feel bold enough to wear them, I would love just to go to her house and look at everything. Because I feel like it's almost a museum of like a wardrobe. Plus, I mean, I know everybody thinks about Carrie Bradshaw for like her shoes, and even though I don't tend to wear heels often, Sarah Jessica Parker, if you guys don't know, actually has her own brand of heels that are hers, and I own a pair, and I got to meet her, and I I am a very huge Sarah Jessica Parker fan.
I love that. And if you ever get to go raid her closet, please let me know because I really want to go with you. I had no idea that that was the case, that she
Yeah,
has all of the clothes.
yeah.
So, yes, please let me know because we're going together.
Of course. No, she's so nice. I think I met her in New York during 2020. It was definitely during COVID because we had to wear masks and we got a picture, but it was like she was in the background, I was in the foreground because, everybody was masked up, 6 feet, yada yada. But she is so genuinely nice. And then I don't remember what I was wearing. I remember exactly what she was wearing, but she like called me out because her outfit was the same tone as my outfit. So I was wearing something like this mauve color because that's what she was wearing. And I didn't know. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I gave her my business card. I'm like, here, I don't do anything that you need, but contact me, which she did not because I'm crazy. But she said she'd keep it. I was like, just take it. And if you throw it away, it's okay. She's like, no, I keep them all. And I'm like, you are so nice. I'm like, no, you don't.
I absolutely love that story. That is so
Yeah.
good. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to continue discussing a little bit more in depth some of Rachel's interests in movies, but for the moment, we're just going to touch on this for a second. If you had to dress like a Marvel character forever, who are you choosing?
Okay. So this one I also had to think about because what I know about Marvel isn't comic book Marvel. I truly only know movie Marvel. For most things, I don't read the book first. I only know the actual visual. I'm a super visual person. Um, so that's probably why I do social media, so visual. But specifically, I would want to do Wanda from her Disney Plus show WandaVision because it goes throughout the different decades. And I just find that, like, they're in fashion, history does tend to repeat itself, even if the elements are slightly tweaked or made slightly more modern. The silhouettes and the pieces, they all come back in style eventually, even if it's a slightly different iteration of it. And so I would want to dress like her specifically from that show so that I could touch from all those different periods that are just so fun.
That's very cool. I love that. So we're going to finish another assumption. Adults who love Disney are blank.
Oh, okay. So I would say, honestly, I would just say adults who love Disney just are happy. And the reason why I would say that is because I don't consider myself a Disney adult. Like I don't do Disneyland or Disney World. I don't I don't think I align with that. I think it's a very certain person that's like, "Oh, I'm a Disney adult." But with that being said, again to my husband's probably dismay, I watch Disney Plus every single night. Like that's what I go to sleep to. Those are my comfort shows. I'm sitting there watching the old cartoons that I grew up with, like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, the X-Men. I just rewatched the Lilo and Stitch TV show, which is a little more current. I think it's like even 10 years older than some of the 90s cartoons. But that is what I like to fall to sleep to. It is something that's just easy. It doesn't require a lot of thought because it is made for children. And then it just brings me a little bit of ease and like a sense of, again, just happiness. So I would say happy. People who like Disney, they're just happy. Even the sad Disney movies, happy ending.
It's true. It's true. Disney, I feel like if you're someone who loves it, obviously not everybody enjoys Disney, but
Yeah.
they kind of have that leave that mark on you almost,
Yeah,
and it's a happy one regardless. At least in
absolutely.
my experience anyway.
I also think that there truly isn't a person, and I could be wrong, so I'm very curious, that doesn't just feel like indifferent about Disney. You either do love Disney or have a favorite Disney movie, Disney show, Disney princess, etc., or you do hate it, and then you have reasons for hating it. I just don't think that there's a middle ground where somebody's just like, oh yeah, Disney's okay, like, I can take it or leave it. No, I think you love it or you hate it.
I think we're gonna have to cut this out and we're gonna post this clip and we'll do a little poll on if we love it, if we hate it, and then we'll see where if the indifferent
Oh,
category gets any votes. So
yeah.
we'll put that up after. What's one assumption people make about you, just in general, that is completely wrong?
Hmm. This is a hard one. Um, I would say that an assumption people make about me would probably be that I am outgoing. I'm actually extremely shy in like public settings, which is weird to think about too. Because I mean, most people don't know me, but I lived in New York City for 12 years. I spent my entire adulthood there. That's where I went to college. And then now I live in Philadelphia and I live in the center of Philadelphia. So it's very busy. And I used to work at Trader Joe's, so that's a job where you're always talking and engaging with people. I've probably myself talked to probably a million people just from my years and years there. Um, and then I'm now on social media full time. And again, even though that is, typically I'm at home shooting by myself, you're still putting yourself out there on the internet for anybody to have any opinion on you ever. And so I think that people then assume that I'm brave or outgoing or I am talkative because I have social skills, but I prefer being alone. Like, I think that, and this may or may not be controversial, but I thrived during COVID because I didn't have to talk to anybody or go anywhere. And I loved it. I loved being in New York and just being like, oh, well, now I'm home for the next 2 years. That's fine with me. Like, I thrive in that environment where it's like solitude, alone. It's just me and Pancake. Sometimes my husband is there. And so that would probably be an assumption I'd make because I go to events in Philly. Like, I go out and I do things, but it completely depletes my social battery. And if people don't talk to me first, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to go out of my way to say anything to anybody. And I just kind of keep to myself. So honestly, maybe the assumption too is maybe they think that I don't know, I want to say a word, but I'm not going to cuss. Um, Maybe they think I'm stuck up or something. So that might be another assumption. But yeah, I'm painfully shy. Really good one-on-one like this, even if we were in person, really horrible in a group setting. Like, I just want to fade into the wall.
I would say though that that is so relatable, especially for a lot of people. I have been trying to be better in group settings as well, and I know, again, as a ballroom dance instructor, it's different like for me leading a class than actually like trying to engage in a group, especially people I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that what you're saying is incredibly relatable, and I think that you'll find that a lot of other people will feel the same way. So
Good. Good.
you are not alone. What movie are you always quoting?
Okay. So this one, I had to think about it because I have a terrible memory. So if people do end up following me, going to my page, I do script things and it's like cut, cut, cut. Because for whatever reason, my mind, as soon as a camera comes on, deer in headlights, blank. I don't know. And so the same thing happens when I'm trying to like recall something. Because for me, when I'm watching TV, I might not remember what was said or even really the scene, but I like remember how it made me feel. And then like I'm sitting there with my husband and I'm like trying to like quote something, a lyric, a movie, a TV show quote. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, he's really good at it. His memory is sharp. He quotes things all day long. He tries to convince me because I don't have a memory. He tries to convince me he's coming up with it on his own. And I'm like, you're not that quick. But to answer the question, the one thing that I find myself quoting all the time, because it's also a meme that you see everywhere, is when the Notebook scene where he's like, what do you want? And me and my husband just yell that at each other all the time whenever the other person is taking a slightly too long to make a decision. It's not the cliche of like, okay, girl doesn't know what she wants for dinner. It's more like, do I want to go with you to walk pancake and it's cold outside right now? And then he's sitting there like, what do you want?
That's a good quote though. I feel like it's very relatable. But now I get the context of it. I think maybe like if I saw you two doing that, I don't think I ever would have got the quote, but I love that. And now I know exactly where that's coming from. I haven't watched The Notebook in such a long time though.
Him and I have both only seen it once separately. Like I saw it in high school. He probably also saw it in high school. And we both didn't really care for the movie either. But yet that's the quote that we do. And I truly think it's because it's become such like this popular meme that's always on his page, always on my page. And we're both like, oh my gosh.
It's a sign it keeps coming up on your page. What pop culture assumption about love needs to be retired immediately?
Okay. This one I feel like I'd have multiple answers for, but I would say the one that I feel that they are currently trying to retire is the thought of like the happily ever after. Like now we're starting, I would say even within the past 10, 20 years, we're starting to get like a lot more sequels. We're starting to get a lot of like, okay, this was the movie, now here's the TV show, to go more in depth into that, because I feel like for so long it was just taught to people that, oh, you need to find love, you need to get that job, you need to do this, and then everything will just magically fall into place, and then your life will be super easy. And then I feel like that gave people this sense of like failure, because once you get that job, once you find love, you still have to put in the work to make it work. And then a lot of people weren't happy, or maybe they thought this is what they wanted to do with their life. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I actually hate this. Let me pivot. And then a lot of people started feeling like failures, or there was like a lot of burnout. So I do feel like people still are hopeful and want that, but in the realistic life way, we should probably be better at retiring the idea of a happy ending, because life is very complicated and unfortunately full of a lot of sad, struggling moments. And even though maybe that's not the most interesting thing to see or not the best conclusion to a story, I think it's time that that just kind of goes away.
I agree with you. And, as the time goes on, I agree with you even more. So
You get it. You get it.
I get it 100%. And the last one for our rapid fire is what assumption have you believed about yourself because of movies?
Okay, so this kind of ties into that. I truly feel like if I put in work or put in effort, then I will be successful. Like I truly believe that if you do A, then B will be the outcome. And that's not always the case. And I'm always learning that. That, for example, Instagram, great example. I thought, if I was showing up every day and doing things that I thought were authentic to me, that it would resonate with everybody. I was like, oh yeah, everybody thinks like me, like here we go. That is not the case. Um, and I think just trying to learn that I don't have actual control over things that I don't have control over, has been something that I need to learn, because you don't always get that in movies. Like movies, again, they're scripted. It's set up to go a certain way to get viewers to watch and to feel a certain feeling. And I don't think that a lot of movies and TV shows want to leave a person feeling unfinished, when in reality, life feels unfinished. So, yeah. I
I
hope that
really
answers the question.
No, it does. I really like how you worded that too, because it's so true. You're giving like some really, really good thought-provoking answers, and I'm loving it. What we're going to do next is we're going to move into some specific movies. So I had asked Rachel for her suggestions for some certain movies that we could talk about, and she gave me some. And full disclosure, I had not seen a lot of them. So I spent the last few weeks watching these movies And I have to say, I'm not going to say which one yet. I'll say it when we get to it, but one of them is now a favorite of mine. And I don't know how I didn't
Really?
watch it any sooner, but I'm so
Okay.
happy that she gave that recommendation. So we're going to start with Midnight in Paris. My initial thought just watching it was that it's charming, it's nostalgic, and it's definitely has that aesthetic feel because it's Paris. For people who haven't seen it yet, maybe this isn't gonna make 100% sense because you haven't seen it, but if you are intrigued, you can go and check it out. Do you think that romanticizing another era is harmless? Or is it a way, do you think that some people use it to avoid what's happening in the present?
I feel very split on this because, yes, I would say that I'm more cynical, more pessimistic. So I do think there's a lot of avoidance when people are like thinking about, like, oh, this was a simpler time, or oh, if I had lived then my life would be different. When in reality, your life would be hard, but it'd be hard in a different way. Like it would still be challenging, like there would just be different challenges. And so I think about like the two thought processes, whether or not, like if I current day as, 31-year-old Rachel was transported back versus what if I was born into a different time. And so for me at 31 years old, if I was transported back to the 1920s, I think I would have a really hard time because there's a lot of current day things that I'm used to. Like I'm used to having a cell phone. I'm used to, currently I live in a big city. And then I lived in New York for so long that shaped me. And so it's like if I was transported back to a big city, there were plumbing issues, sanitation things that I would probably not think about, but now I'm thinking about that's gross. Um, and then also, even though, yes, I'm shy, I am very opinionated and outspoken on those opinions. And during that time period, being a woman, that's probably not too good of a situation. As well as, again, being somebody who lived their early adult life in New York, I was blissfully unaware of like dangerous situations that I might have gotten myself into then. And thankfully, like I'm good, nothing happened. But those things still happen now. And they happened more then because there weren't cameras, there weren't security measures. So it's very
Right.
interesting. I know that I don't remember what the question was, but that's the answer.
You answered it. You are good to go. Now we're going to kind of dial it back for a moment because if you, well, without giving anything away, I suppose, how would you describe this movie to someone who's watching it for the first time? Or what would you like encourage them to pay attention to if they watch it for the first time?
um, I'm going to slightly not answer it that way, but I would say that if you do like history and do like nostalgia and do like, that era, then you get to pick up because there's some parts, some actors that are actually playing characters that were from that time. And it kind of almost challenges whatever preconceived notion you might have about them because it paints them in a picture of reality that when you're reading about them in an autobiography or if you're reading their novel or something like that, you're forgetting that there's a person behind that. Like there isn't an author who lived in a certain time period and had a life and was a person. And so I would just say like pay attention to that because it's kind of fun. It's like, if you were a fly on the wall back then, I like that part.
Of that. If you could time travel for fashion to any era, which one are you choosing?
Okay. So again, split, because I love pulling things from different periods already. But for me, I would say the most uh, iconic silhouettes that I truly don't even wear, which is I think the most frustrating part because I like it so much and then I don't include it into my like everyday looks, are pieces from the late 50s, early 60s, because there was just such a crazy fashion movement, because you have still like the huge kind of skirts of the 50s for like, swing dancing and stuff like that. But then you are starting to get more like the cigarette pants with like the ankle cropping, and you're still getting the feminine silhouette, but it's more body central instead of like exaggerated silhouettes. And so I would like to be on that cusp, because then I'm kind of pulling from the new and the old. And then aside from that, I would also have loved to do the 1970s, but like the disco era specifically. When I think of like an icon in fashion for music, I think of Cher and like her television show she did and all her exaggerated costumes for the good and for the bad. She definitely, had some bad fashion choices politically, but the actual like amount of sequins and feathers and bright colors and just everything, and just because she's like tall and has like that model frame, everything just kind of drapes on her and it just looks so beautiful. So wouldn't mind that. Also wouldn't mind raiding her closet. So
Those are some really, really great choices. I like would totally vibe with a wardrobe like that. That is so fun. All right. I pull some assumptions from the internet and I just want to have your reaction on it. So, based on Midnight in Paris, an assumption on it is that it's just whimsical nostalgia. So, what would be your immediate thought on that?
I'd say surface wise, yes, it is. But again, without giving away too much, the main character, I forget the name of his character, but Owen Wilson is the guy who plays it. Um, the whole premise of it is that he loves and idolizes that time. He definitely romanticizes it without having like a true like understanding of like what it would be like in that period. And so you get to see kind of his arc of falling in love with the idea of that, going there, still being in love with the idea of it, and then kind of seeing like his arc of, am I in love with the idea, or am I in love with the reality of it? So I would say if you like a movie that kind of challenges your ideals, if you put yourself in his shoes, whether or not you would romanticize that period, it can give you like a more thought-provoking, I guess, way of thinking, if you can like apply that to like other aspects of your own life.
It was definitely an interesting movie to watch. I think his name was Gil. Does that sound right? I feel like that may have been his name. Uh,
Probably.
Possibly.
I'm gonna
But
go with yes, because you've definitely watched it more recently than I did.
yeah, it was an interesting movie for me. After watching it, like, I wouldn't say that I would put it in my favorites, but it gave me a certain appreciation for learning, again, about more people from the past and just, again, like thought-provoking, like how you said about, the different eras and actually living there and, would he actually enjoy being there for the rest of his life in that era, or does he actually like want to go back? So, I totally understand everything you're saying there. We're going to move into the next one, which I feel like I'm just going to say it right now. Like, this is the one that now I can't even believe I haven't seen it until recently.
Okay.
Bridget Jones's Diary. I found it
Okay.
incredibly relatable.
Yeah.
I want her wardrobe. I love the mini skirts and the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
jackets. And I
mm-hmm.
think if people have seen my social media, when I do have events where I need to go and work, I tend to have like a matching suit that's like a mini skirt and a jacket. So I found her so relatable. There was a lot of chaos, which I appreciated as well, because sometimes, again, without giving anything away, when she got her job, hosting with her microphone, sometimes that's how I feel when I'm learning how to film my podcast.
Yeah.
So, again, just incredibly relatable. The first question we're going to start with, which again might confuse people who haven't seen it, but are you team Mark Darcy or are you secretly wishing Daniel would come back?
Okay. So I've seen all the iterations because there are a lot of sequel a third movie, a fourth movie, etc. I believe this is a fun fact. You might need to double check me on this, but I believe Bridget Jones' Diary is loosely based on the book Pride and Prejudice. So you have those, if you know that story, then you'll be able to kind of see how they made it a current day version of it, and I really appreciate that. But I recently rewatched this too because I want to put it on Rachel Recreates, by the way. I am a hardcore Mark Darcy fan. And also, if I'm not mistaken, in Pride and Prejudice, the guy is also Mr. Darcy. Like that's part of this. Anyways, no, I love Mark Darcy. I would say that he is too quiet. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, then like you might not understand this. He's just such a reserved person, and I feel like that is maybe sometimes even how I come off in social settings where I'm more reserved. That is how he is. He is quiet and watchful versus being bold and outspoken. And that is where the other character is very over the top, very showy. That's what usually will draw a character towards his character because you like that. You like to be around somebody who's magnetic. But no, I like Mark Darcy.
All right. What Bridget moment feels the most relatable?
Oh my gosh. There's a few. I would say the most relatable for me through my 20s was the fact that she was always picking perhaps the wrong guys and just the over dramatic, like, all by myself montage singing moment where it was just like, oh my gosh, woe is me. I would say that was definitely my 20s, my New York era. But now being in my 30s, I would say the more relatable part is the fact that she continues to give herself New Year's resolutions or just guidelines to a better life because she constantly does want self-improvement, and I constantly want self-improvement. I think that's what you get from like the human experiences. You should always be driving yourself towards being just better. And I would say that I relate to her though because as much planning and as much thought as you put into guiding your life into a certain direction, you are your own driver. And it's very easy to just not try. And I'm not saying that she's not trying. It's just very easy and very comfortable. Like I think throughout the movie, she's like trying to like quit smoking, yet she's always smoking. And so even though I don't smoke, I just find myself in that same kind of routine of like, oh my gosh, this is not actually feeding my goal. I just keep doing what I keep doing. And it's just like that endless cycle. But yet I want to break out of it. So I would say that's probably my most relatable thing.
I think that's going to be relatable for a lot of people. And again, regardless of what the habit is, good
Yeah.
or bad, I think it's just, falling into kind of a comfort zone area. And eventually, I mean, I've found that I tend to get, kicked in the butt. And then eventually I have to do something about it because I'm like, well, this isn't going to work anymore. So
Yep.
we're going to do the same thing with assumptions.
Okay.
So, an assumption about Bridget is that she's obsessed with finding Mr. Right.
Ooh, okay. I would definitely challenge that, even though that is one of her goals. Her goals is, to find like the right guy for her. And that is the basis of the movie is do I choose him? Do I choose him? Um, but she's not seeking Mr. Right to make herself complete. She just views him as part of this like this is what I need checklist to get my life together because she's purely trying to figure out like what's going to make me happy, what's going to make me whole, and she believes either societally from her parents, etc. in the movie that like, oh, I need a guy, like all my friends are coupled up, like I need that, when in actuality the way she ends up falling in love in the movie is by realizing like, oh, like and I'm gonna give it away, I guess. So if you haven't seen the movie, sorry. But she ends up being with a guy who is like, you have all these flaws, and I love you for you. Like, even with all those flaws, even if, you changed nothing about yourself, even the things you want to change, if you change nothing, I'm still choosing you. And her hearing that in the movie makes her realize, like, oh, like, I am picked. I am worthy, even without changing these things that I think I should change. So that's great. So then she finds peace within herself, and then she is able to change, because that's almost like a reassurance or like a motivation to her. And maybe she hasn't heard that either from like her parents or whatever. And then that's me making a lot of assumptions about her as a character who's not a real person.
But I have to admit, though, I also put a note there for what my thought on it was, and it was that it really is about self-acceptance, which I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah. So we're on the
Yes.
same page. We got this.
And now everybody else is going to be on that page.
Unless there's someone who made up this assumption. I don't know who made this up. It was on the internet.
There's a guy. There's a guy that made up that assumption. A guy watched the movie with his girlfriend and was like, "Oh yeah, I see the point. Yeah, yeah, it's a guy." No.
Speaking of men, so assumption number two is that the movie is only for women. What are your thoughts?
I don't think so. So when I rewatched this recently, I did not rewatch it with my husband, but also don't even know if he's seen this movie. But there are so many moments in this movie, again, even though it's following a woman's journey, that maybe a guy won't exactly understand some of those moments because you're following her life and it's very woman relatable. Um, but I think every guy would either align with um, Mark Darcy, or what was the other guy's name now?
Daniel?
Daniel.
Daniel
Yes,
Cleaver?
you would either align with Mark or Daniel, and then one, you would just enjoy that. But two, there are moments where Bridget has just really funny moments. Like, whether you're a female or a male, you're going to be like, oh, that's just funny. And I feel like, who doesn't like funny? I mean, women like it, guys like it, so you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I found it incredibly refreshing, like
Yeah.
relatable and refreshing. But
Which is
now, yeah,
crazy
when
because it's
I
old.
first,
It's
Mhm.
an old movie. If it's
Yeah,
not from 2000, it's from like 2002. It's,
and
you
I still found it like incredibly relevant in 2026. And I have to admit, I was sitting there watching it, I was like, why didn't I find this sooner?
yeah.
But like you said about all the different variations of it and like continuations, I now find that I need to spend some time and actually go through all of them now because this was
They're
something.
not as good. That's the heartbreaking part. She becomes like a character of herself instead of like who she is, which I feel like movies always ruin it. I think the second one's still pretty good, but then the third one was sad, and then I don't remember if I saw the fourth one. But you still love her. That's the thing that I will say is, even with all of them, you still have this like you do love her character. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's truly the writing. I don't know if it's the acting. You feel for her. You want more, and then they gave you more, and then the more they gave you is garbage. But yeah, whatever.
Not to go like completely off topic, but I feel like it is hard to find a really great movie that has equally as great sequels. I
Yes,
don't feel like it comes around as often that you just find them that either they keep getting better or they have that same level of greatness. I don't know that I've really, other than like animated movies.
yep, agreed,
Like
agreed.
I was okay with Shrek. I thought
Yep,
the Shrek continuations were
yep,
great. Madagascar. I did
yep,
put on the other one the other day because I
yep.
just needed to laugh. So I put on
Yes.
one of the sequels of that. But yeah, like off the top of my head, I couldn't say that there's really a whole series where I'm like, yeah, they just kept getting better.
I feel like for cartoons they can do it so well because expectations are like lower, in the sense that you know it's a cartoon, so kids are going to love it regardless. So then maybe they take more chances with it, to where with live action, let's say, real people movies, they're like, oh, like, well, what, like, they overthink it almost. They're like, oh, they love Bridget because she's a mess. Well, let's make her messier. And it's like, no, then that's less relatable because now you're going too far a certain way. Um, Again, that's just my like thought process behind it. I do find that there's a few shows that still do it like decently because they have like a big picture to it because no show just wants to do one season. But then again, there's like other shows like Friends where the longer it went on, the more the characters became caricatures of themselves, and then that's not as enjoyable. I still like the show as a whole, but it's just not it lost some of those certain charms of the characters. Um, yeah.
I hear you. All right, we're going to move on to Notting Hill.
Okay.
My, again, first impression of this movie was, okay, she's so chic. She's like so fabulous. And here she is meeting this guy who's kind of, I would say, like in his own world in a sense. He
Mhm.
seems like pretty settled down in the beginning with like his, I don't want to give too much away, like with his store, but he's like, he's good. And then like the intrigue sets in. So this one, I feel like, again, I already said that Bridget Jones was clearly my favorite, but this one had like a completely different vibe, I guess I would say. So, what draws you to this movie?
Um, this also draws me to Bridget Jones. I love Hugh Grant. I do. I don't know what it is about him. I love him. I love him as the old guy he is now. I love him as the young guy he was when he was doing all these heartthrob movies. I love me some Hugh Grant. So, with him being the main like love interest, I'm like, ooh, okay, sign me up. Um, but with that aside, I would say it's this idea of, again, you have two people that are successful in their own right who are, let's say, I don't know if they say what the ages are in the movies, but let's say they're like early to mid 30s. So, again, super relatable to me right now. Um, but again, they have their established life. Let's say they're early to mid 30s. And then when you kind of peek behind the curtain, which is the movie, you see, oh, this character's life isn't as one put together, or two doesn't fulfill them as much as they thought it did. And then it kind of peeps into like, oh, what are they missing? Again, Hugh Grant's character is missing out on love. I think he had like a failed relationship or something, and that's like his pivotal moment of where he dove into work. And then Julia Roberts' character is struggling with having a real relationship with another actor, knowing that that other actor potentially isn't faithful, and what that does to like her psyche and her self-esteem, because you're like, oh, outside paparazzi, like they have this glamorous relationship, whatever, and then she's like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to survive my life being this mega star. And the best part about that movie to me is, even though she's this big actress. She's this big actress filming not in the United States. She's filming in England. So that shows like how skewed maybe the American view of like a star is versus there, to where like they're still enamored with her, but it's not the same of like, oh, I'm going to sell her out, or what can I gain from exploiting this celebrity, to where there it's very much, oh, okay, well, this is her as a person. I met her not, as this movie star. I met her as this. She came into my bookstore, whatever. And so like I like seeing that kind of dynamic, to where it just kind of really does a great job at like character development in such a short span of time. And I think the actual movie might take place over like 2 weeks, and then like the very end like fast forwards, so like that's really nice, is like, oh, I fell in love with this person very fast, which isn't always the most realistic thing to do, but it was fun to see and fun to watch.
Now, I know in the beginning you already told us your favorite outfit
Mm-hmm.
from
Yes.
this movie. So I feel like we already answered the question that I had about what Julia Roberts outfit you would steal from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else about her style that you notice influences your current day-to-day style?
So I don't know so much if it influences me, but one thing that I just find very interesting about it is when you're seeing her at any sort of, and this could have just been, I think maybe this was filmed in like the late 90s, also could have been early 2000s, but any of her media facing events, she was all business. She wasn't even doing glamorous dresses. She was essentially in a business suit and a tie. And that was the vibe she gave, is like, oh, I'm a serious actor. Take me seriously. So she did very menswear heavy stuff. And then when you see her in like the times where she's trying to like hide or be nondescript, that's when she's in the black kind of chic looks. And then when you see her with Hugh Grant's character, she like lets that go and lets like her soft feminine side show. It again plays into like feminine vulnerability, letting down the shield, whatever you'd like to call it. And so those silhouettes are very pretty, like they're very dainty. Like there's a classic quote that again I can't quote or can't remember, but it's like, I'm just a girl standing in front of a guy telling him I love him, or something like that. And like that classic line, I've heard hundreds of times, hundreds of iterations. It's from this movie. And she is in, I want to say like a tank top and like a cardigan and a skirt. And it's very of that period though. Like I wouldn't wear it today. But again, it's feminine and it's soft and it's vulnerable. And she doesn't really do that in her career moves. So I would say that for me, I do like and am drawn to men's wear, but I might be drawn to it because it gives me a sense of like authority, when in actuality, I should, and I do enjoy this too, I do enjoy the feminine silhouettes for vulnerability moments as well. So,
I like that answer. And it's like very in depth, but it makes sense. There's definitely some relatable moments. I do love a menswear moment. But again, yeah, I totally get how there are days where I just want to have wildly feminine style and just let
yeah,
it come out. I think it's also interesting too, I have the opportunity to put on like ballroom dancing dresses, which is like a completely different thing. And I think when people see me on social media, or, like today I'm in my sweatshirt and some baggy jeans, because I don't want every day to be a day where I slap a ballroom dancing gown on. And
yeah,
I don't want every day to be a day where I'm like all pink and frilly. And I just think it's the balance. And something that, again, I find very fun about your socials is that there are so many different ways that you incorporate all of these different types of style, but it all still comes back to you and
yeah.
what you personally love. And I just think that fashion is such a fun way for people to kind of explore their personality a little bit. And sometimes people are afraid to do it, but I guess this conversation, we're encouraging you to try it. And even if you don't post it online, that's okay. Nobody
Yeah.
needs to see it.
Yes, no, it's so true. I mean, again, even pulling again from the Notting Hill outfit that I mentioned, like a beret. I know Emily in Paris is huge right now, so there was like a kind of uptick in the amount of beret wearers. But, and I, again, I'm in a city, so I sometimes wear it, but try it. Like you don't know if you'd like it or if you have the head shape for it or whatever until you're like, oh, hey, let's see. And then that could be your new favorite accessory. Like who doesn't? Like I feel like accessories are the most harmless place to like try out something new. Like polka dots everywhere right now, not to get too off topic, but I don't really see myself wearing a polka dot dress for the next 1, maybe 2 years before this cycles out. But I will say that I recently bought from Amazon a polka dot jacket. And yes, it's busy, but it's an outer layer, so I can always take it off if it's too much, or if I feel like it's too much, because it's an accessory. Even though it's a jacket, it's like a light jacket. And I feel like that's just so easy to be like, okay, I'm going to try this trend, or I'm going to try that. And the other great thing about the jacket is, since it's a jacket, I could wear it all 7 days in a week and nobody's going to judge me for it, to where if I wore the same polka dot dress for 7 days, people would probably look at me funny. So I'll even get more use out of it.
That's so true. Very versatile. I like that. The assumption for Notting Hill, and we just have one, is that it's just fantasy.
Oh, so I would definitely disagree with that. Like, yes, it is over like this top, like unrealistic situation where an actress would fall in love with this normal guy she met in a bookshop in another country. Like, yes, that is definitely a fantasy of probably so many people. But again, going back to that famous line, she's like, at the end of the day, even though yes, I'm this successful person, I'm still just a girl. I'm just a girl standing in front of a guy. There we go. And so I would say that those vulnerability moments are just so relatable, and everybody feels that, no matter, if you're somebody who's super successful, or you're going on a date with somebody who's super successful. Like, at the end of the day, they are just a person, and everybody's just trying to live and survive and figure out life. And I mean, some people are just doing it with more money, and that is nice. But again, they still have problems. Their problems just might not be your problems, but they're still issues.
We are going to move into the holiday movie that you mentioned, which is a classic. And I have to say, I feel like this past holiday season, they were promoting this specific one like more than I had ever noticed in the past. So I feel like maybe a lot of people have leaned into this movie as maybe one of their go-to holiday movies, but we're going to go into the holiday. And I think that it's cute. I think that it's refreshing. There are some holiday movies where, they come out with new ones, and I'm like, I don't think I can handle like another
Yeah,
holiday romance. This is one that I feel like I can come back to, and it never feels like repetitive,
yeah,
or it doesn't take along that storyline where, you see a new one advertised and you're like, I already know how this is gonna go. Like, why are we gonna watch it?
yeah.
This is a good one. So what do you think makes the holiday so rewatchable?
So I think the fact that it isn't specifically a like Christmas movie makes it watchable. Like, you could watch it on St. Patrick's Day and it's still just as relevant, because it takes on, it looks into these people's lives over the course of like a year. Like, and you get to see how their relationship ebbs and flows over the course of this year. And so I think just that in general makes it a more just watchable holiday movie, because even though I think it like maybe starts and finishes around Christmas, New Year's time, it doesn't, that's not the center theme of it. Like, that lead character's name isn't Holly or Noel. Like, it's not that movie, even though I like those too. But you know what you're going to get, like you said. With this one, I also feel that this one is more refreshing because it is a newer movie. I think, I don't know, maybe in the last 5, 6 years. And so it follows Emma Roberts, and basically deals with maybe more millennial Gen Z issues, which is like, oh, we're in this casual thing, or oh, I'm so tired of dating, or oh, anti-couple ship, even though they end up. So I think that that also makes it a little bit more relatable, because it's dealing with what has become the norm, which is, oh, we're just casual, or oh, we're just friends with benefits. Like, that was, that is a thing that, even if it existed in the 90s, etc., it now has its own term. It is a thing that people do, and it's more realistic than, the cliche of like, oh, I'm actually going out on a date. Like, there's a nostalgia for going to dinner in a movie that I feel like the younger generations like pine for. And then this movie kind of counters that, because it's like, well, yes, there's dinner in a movie, but also there's a friendship. And it also shows like the arc of, maybe there's not immediate attraction, or there is and they're denying it for whatever reason, but it shows like how a friendship can blossom into something, which I also feel like happens a lot. Again, even if it did happen in the 90s, it wasn't what people were putting in movies, but now it is in movies, it is relatable, it does happen. And so I feel like that's kind of why people want to watch that and can watch it whenever.
I want you to describe your wardrobe if you were in a holiday movie.
Okay. So I would go again, especially if it was a Christmas movie, I would go the full like red and green. Like when it is that time of the month, well, that time of the year, and everything's nostalgic. And Christmas isn't even one of my favorite holidays. It's just not. But when it is that time, I would go full out for that holiday, whatever the holiday is. I would lean into it full, wholeheartedly. Like if I was in a Valentine's Day rom com, I don't even love pink, and I would just be in pink, hearts everywhere, totally leaning into whatever the moment is. 4th of July movies, red, white, and blue, plastered all over me. So that would be my fashion. That doesn't really give you a silhouette or an idea of the wardrobe, but it would be definitely heavy color coded.
I love that. It also gives, I feel like, a wide to focus on, the colors. Then it kind of gives you the ability to choose different silhouettes
True.
or to discover new ones maybe that you didn't know that you liked. Because again, if we look at Sarah Jessica Parker's wardrobe, there's probably so much in there. We'd
Yes.
be like, oh, I never knew that I liked this silhouette. This is very cool. So we're just gonna do, I feel like one of the assumptions you already kind of knocked out. One of them was it's just a predictable holiday romance, which you've already kind of cleared that up that it's not. And then the second one is people think that this is a movie that's only for single people.
Oh, again, as somebody who's watched it, I think when it came out, I was in a long-term relationship and then now with somebody else. And then now I'm married to my husband. I still enjoy it. I think there's maybe a part of you or part of somebody or part of me who's like, oh, okay, well, let me live vicariously through this person. Like, oh, let me romanticize this life that I don't have and I'm not choosing to have. That is still like enjoyable, even if you can't relate to it. Like, I watch movies with people who have kids and I don't have kids and I still enjoy it. So, so I would definitely say that, you don't have to be single or you could be married to your high school sweetheart and you never even experienced this type of dating. I still think you can enjoy it because it is a fantasy. It is made for entertainment. You just might not relate to it as much, so it might not be a favorite movie.
I hear you. We are going to completely change gears for the moment. We're going to go into some other ideas that you had thrown out, which is going to include Adam Sandler, Marvel, and Disney. So we're going to start first with Adam Sandler. I have to say, like, my first thought that comes to mind when it's Adam Sandler is, and I feel like it's actually kind of more serious. I feel like people think of him as like funny all the time,
Yeah.
but he is someone where I have always seen him as like a very good example of friends supporting friends.
Oh, yes.
He has so many of his friends and so many of the same actors and actresses recurring in his movies. And I just think that there's something so wholesome about that. And that's honestly like my first thought that comes to mind whenever I think of Adam Sandler. It comes to my mind before like the hoodies and basketball shorts
Yeah.
too. So if you could rank your top three Adam Sandler movies, what are they?
In no particular order, I would go with Just Go With It. It's his movie with Jennifer Aniston, and they go on like vacation. 51st Dates, obviously, classic, Drew Barrymore. And then it would I'd either go old Adam Sandler with like Happy Gilmore or something along those lines, or I would go with one of his serious movies like Uncut Gems, like something that's completely not what he usually does, but actually shows his range as an actor. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, he's been in movies and stuff for the last 3 decades. Like, yes, he can act. He chooses maybe not to, but no, he is also a serious actor with heavy acting chops and can carry a movie with the weight like that. Yeah, I would say those. I know that's four, but it's fine.
Okay, that still counts. I'm totally with you on 50 First Dates. And when you said Adam Sandler, that pops into my head, and I was like, I should really like have a self-care night and just watch that movie because I just love that movie.
It's so good. So good.
We're going to jump right into some assumptions. There are actually a lot about Adam Sandler, which I don't know, I think we need to like get rid of some of these. But the first one we're going to start with is it's just loud, goofy nonsense.
So he definitely has a lot of those movies, but again, going into kind of what you said, where he's like, oh, his like friends and stuff are in it. If you think about it, from the first movie that he like met his wife in, she has been in every single thing since then. Like, if that doesn't show you who he is as a person. And now that his kids are old enough to act and they want to act, and he still shields them from stuff because they're in his productions. That just to me shows you who he is as a person. Like, he truly wants to share and have fun, and just he wants to love work, and he wants to work with the people he loves. And so yes, maybe some of them are loud, some of them are controversial, some of them are annoying, but again, are you who you show online all the time? It's still a job. It's still acting. He may or may not be that person in real life. I don't know. I did go to one of his comedy shows, which was my husband's gift for me, I think, when I turned 30, which was like so nice. And even at his comedy show, seeing what he talks about now in his comedy, he shares anecdotes about his friends. He shares stories about his kids. He tells things that are like not too private, but funny and relatable about his wife. Who opened the show for him? Rob Schneider, who is his longtime friend. And so it's just nice to see that. And then also, and I don't know if he does this in every show, but from what I've seen online, is his time at SNL was so impactful for him, even though he was fired and etc. from there. Those are some of his like long-standing friends. And he performed a song for his friend who is passed, Chris Farley. And apparently that's in every single stand-up tour that he does, is he dedicates time, a song, to his friend who's now probably been, unfortunately dead for like what, maybe 15, 20 years plus. And like, again, that just shows you who he is as a person, taking back all the like masks he wears, which is comedy. Because at the end of the day, I think he falls on some more slapstick comedy, some more maybe lower brow comedy, because he wants it to be lighthearted. He wants it to be easy. He wants it to be able to maybe cater towards the masses without being too thought-provoking. So, yeah, I will die on that hill. I love Adam Sandler. I've had a crush on Adam Sandler since I was like 6 years old. His name was like written everywhere. When other people were like, ooh, Backstreet Boys, I was like, no, Adam Sandler. So yeah, I will die on this hill.
I love that for you though. And your answer is just like so true because at the end of the day, yeah, a lot of people are acting. We don't get to meet all of these people and see what they're like when the camera's not on.
Yeah.
But I think that we kind of have this idea of what they'd be like. But I feel like he's someone where if you were to meet him, like I think that he would meet your expectations. I think that there's some people, or maybe a lot of people, who would really fall short of
Yeah.
what the expectation is. But I feel like he's someone where you would meet him and it's just like genuine and again, meet your expectations of what you thought of him.
Yeah, every story that I've at least seen, but also like my algorithm is only going to show me the good stuff, is always like, oh yeah, he's such a great guy. He's so casual. He's so normal. So I'd like to think and maintain that image of him.
Yeah. The next assumption is his hoodies at award shows means he doesn't care.
So there have been interviews that I've watched of people interviewing his wife on like her thought process behind it. And she's just like, well, one, she's like, obviously I don't have a say. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't be that. But she's like, he just likes to wear what he likes to wear. And he almost thinks it's, I guess, if I'm remembering correctly, she was saying like she almost thinks it's dumb to like actively go into like heavy consumerism in the sense that it's like he doesn't need to be super flashy. He will give things as gifts to show his love to his friends and his family that are super expensive, but then when it comes to him, he's like, I don't need that. So I think it more shows not disrespect, but it more shows like almost self-confidence, self um reassurance. Like he knows who he is, he knows what he likes, and he knows where he wants to spend his money, and it's not on himself.
Yeah, I think that's something to be said about this is, everybody craves so much that they want authenticity from people. And then I think he's a perfect example of, he gives you that like authentic self by showing up like that. He's not showing up like that to become a meme.
Or make a
He's
statement
like
or anything. Yeah, that's
like
just
he's showing up being himself, but then again, it comes down to the idea that so many people want this authenticity from
Mhm.
people, but then they give it to you, and then it's like, oh no, that's not what we wanted.
Yeah, yeah, that's not authentic. Like what?
All right, we are going to move into a little bit of Marvel and Disney. Now, I have to agree with you. I'm not so much like up on my knowledge from the original comic books, so anyone who's listening to this, if you're like really deep into comics, like
It's
be
not here.
kind because I am basically going off of movies that I have watched recently. I even needed to do kind of that separation and I needed to search to make sure like what I thought was Marvel was actually Marvel and not
Yeah,
something else.
yeah, okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at with this topic. But if you could rank your top three Marvel movies.
Hmm. This is very, very, very challenging for me because during like COVID, I watched them all and I watched them twice. I watched them in cinematic order, so actually like the order that they came out with the Easter eggs and everything you could piece together. And then I went back again and I watched it, including the TV shows at the time, in chronological order to then try to catch what they added as Easter eggs later and they didn't have fully branched out. So, movie wise, though, what would be my favorite? Um, I mean, I personally love Black Panther. I mean, I feel like everybody loves Black Panther. I had like the privilege of when I lived in New York City getting to watch it in Harlem because that's where I lived at the time. So being in the theater, being immersed in like, Black culture was amazing. And like getting to watch it with everyone was just, it was so phenomenal that experience I think increased my love for the movie even more on top of just knowing the actors struggle with cancer and treatments during the time of a lot of the filming of things just really solidified like my love for the movie, my love for Marvel because they didn't just recast him when he passed, they like gave grace to it. So I really love just what that means. And then so that's up there. And then I would say the one that I can just watch again and again and again, like as background noise, and I can focus on it, not focus on it, is the Thor Ragnarok. I again love the idea of you know, Norse mythology, and just like gods and goddesses and all of that. But then Ragnarok has a totally different director than the first two Thor movies, which I didn't care for. I didn't love the tone, even though apparently that tone in the first two movies is more authentic to the comic book Thor, which is like slightly more over the top, I'm better than thou because I'm a god. I take myself very seriously, even though honestly I'm kind of a joke. Um, I didn't care for the tone, but then as soon as they switched directors and went in a different direction of more like comedy and gave him more vibrance, the actor did a phenomenal job too, just kind of switching a bit. Oh, it's amazing. I think that movie, hands down, might be one of the best um, in all of Marvel. I really, really like that one. And then I would say movie wise, I did. this also might be a controversial opinion, but I did like uh the Marvels, where it deals with Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, etc. I don't always love, and this is definitely controversial, I don't always love a female led cast of movies, just because I feel like directors and writers still don't do the best job at writing for them. So there's something off. Not that I don't support women, not that I don't love a woman star, but I still feel like as a whole, they don't always do it so well. And then, especially going with like a female superhero, I feel like it's still kind of hard to write that well and then put it into action. But I love Miss Marvel. I watched her show. I think the actress, who I don't know the name, is incredible for being as young as she is. And I think they did a pretty interesting job with like the CGI and everything for it. And I just like her character. Like, she's spunky. She's definitely Gen Z teetering on Gen Alpha, and she's just very sure of herself and at the same time questioning it and wanting to like learn and grow more. And then I also think that it's a I might misspeak, but I think she's in Jersey City. So again, being in kind of the New York region where usually everything happens in Manhattan, I enjoy when they also kind of get into the more, let's say, suburb parts of surrounding Manhattan. Just makes it more interesting and kind of more relatable and in touch with more people's realities. On top of just all the Spider-Mans are good, like any of them. But yeah, those movies.
Right. I think you touched on something though that I had recently watched a video about, and it was comparing, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it might have been New Girl, I don't know, but it
Okay.
was comparing characters who were written by a female writer versus the characters who were written by a male writer. And
Yeah.
it was just so interesting to me to watch just the differences in kind of how the characters developed just based off of who they were written by.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on that a little bit about, the female-led superhero movies. And I think like, before I really watched that video and then started realizing, oh yeah, like obviously whoever's writing for them, like this is going to make their character come out like completely different, you
Yeah.
know? Or even if you take like two different female writers or two different male writers, the character's still gonna come out different. So I think that that's a valid point that you have is some of it is also the writing that is behind it. And not that it's not good, but it's just, I think that it can take a character in a completely different direction just based on who is actually writing for them. So,
Exactly. And the same thing I feel like is true too. Like, I can almost tell or maybe almost spot lines where it's like a guy is speaking and you're like, I think a woman's hand was on that. I don't think a guy got to say that. Because it just tonally feels like a little, there's like a tiny, tiny little disconnect if you're like super paying attention. And again, for all I know, the Marvels was actually written by like a woman. Like, but then you have to think about how many other eyes are on it. Like, who's the director? Was it a woman director? Was it a guy director? Who's the cinematographer? Who is the executive producers that can veto certain things? Like, there's so many eyes and stuff that are on a movie that can slightly change something, or scripts get rewritten in the middle of a movie or whatever. And it's just so interesting to think about, to where if you really just are sitting there, like, are you analyzing it for a movie? Are you enjoying it as entertainment? Are you looking at it with a different lens because of fashion? Or are you an interior designer who's looking at it for, the set design? Like, there's so many parts of a movie that make it so whole and can also make it very complicated. Like, even bad movies. Like, there's so many people and so much effort and time that went into this. And then you're just sitting there like, oh, well, not watching that one again. And then I feel bad, and then I'm like, oh my god, that's somebody's baby. That's their life work. But yeah, anyways.
it is true. We're going to move quick into your top three Disney movies.
Okay. This one would definitely be way, way, way too hard for me to ever try to do. But I know you just touched on Zootopia. I haven't watched the second one yet, but the first one, there was a time where I was so addicted to that movie that I was falling asleep to it every single night. I would put it on, within 10-15 minutes, I was out because it was such a comfort movie for me. So I do really like that. But everything else, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin because there's so many that I like. I would say if you know it, the Robin Hood movie where it's the foxes. I love that one. My husband actually loves that one so much that the like beginning song always makes his top Spotify playlist every single year because he loves the music in that movie. So, yeah, I'm just going to go with those two for now.
Yeah, there really truly are so many. So when I was initially thinking with, Marvel and then Disney, I mean, kind of if I had to choose a top, and the internet told me that this was Marvel. So I went with Venom because
Okay,
for
yeah.
some reason, I don't know why, there is something about that movie and just the rest of them. I am just down to watch Venom. I don't know why.
No, it
So
is so good. We just watched it. The Venom, I don't know what it's actually called, but the one with Carnage. Zach and I just watched that one 2 nights ago. And
yeah,
we love them. They're really good. I mean,
yeah.
the
So
actor though is so good too. So, I mean, even Zach has a guy crush on him. So,
oh, Tom Hardy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've gone through phases where he's on my Discovery page often. I think for some reason I've had phases with Tom Hardy. Pedro Pascal just
oh,
keeps coming up and
I love a good Pedro Pascal.
I
So,
don't know what I do to get him all over my For You page, but he is just there. And then I get Schmidt from New Girl quite
yeah.
often. But yeah, I would say it definitely goes between the three of them, like quite often appearing.
Going back to quotes, my husband quotes Schmidt all the time. Or he'll make fun of me because sometimes I pronounce words weird. And he's like, oh, and then he'll just start talking like Schmidt. So, no, New Girl is great. That's actually a show that I made my husband watch because I was like, you're going to like this. And then I think an assumption would be that, oh, New Girl's only for girls, even though it's one girl, well, two girls, and then three guys plus. So, yeah, no, New Girl is fantastic.
So I don't even need to tell you how excited I am when Zoe Deschanel kind of like made a comment that she would love a
Yes.
reboot of New
Yeah.
Girl, and I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, please, universe,
Be
make this
so
happen.
good, so current. I would be so curious, like, where are they now?
Mhm. Well, who is it? Cece and Winston, they have their podcast
Podcast?
together. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm going to use them. And then Nick has his podcast also. Yeah, I don't know. I love all of them. I think it's so fun.
I personally feel like everybody would be down. I feel like it would honestly probably be the hardest though to get Nick to do it because he's actually not that the other people aren't real actors, but he like went into real movie like acting and like really I don't know if it's called like stepped up his game, but he just had more opportunities maybe. So I feel like getting him wrangling him to do like a TV show would be more challenging, even though I haven't seen him in too much recently. But that would be my like assumption of why they are not just like jumping the gun, or maybe they're having a hard time just going back because they feel like it actually had a conclusion. I feel like a lot of shows don't want to touch something that like was good.
Yeah, I
So
hear you on that. But if it does come back, I think that we're going to have to do another episode fully
yes.
based on New Girl and New Girl only.
Oh, so good. Just Today is adorable as anything. So
So, one of my questions, and this was based on my picks here. So, my Disney pick would be Cinderella. That's just, I have always been like a Cinderella girl. Like, at the end of the day, I go back to like the original cartoon version of Cinderella. That's like my comfort movie. So, would you rather live with Venom or Cinderella's stepfamily?
ooh, okay. It's hard because it really depends on if Venom likes me. Because if Venom likes me, like, cool, golden, great life. I might just have to learn to like live with chickens, which is whatever, I guess. Um, But then, yeah, I'm really leaning that way because the stepsisters, they are pretty mean. They are pretty mean. And then I have to also think current day versus like olden times. So yeah, I might lean Venom.
I would agree with you on that one. I don't know that I would want to handle her step family. We're going to do some assumptions quick. So, assumption one is adults who love Disney are childish.
I don't know if childish is the word. I definitely would say that there's like an air of like joy and maybe whimsy that borders on childish, but I feel like childish, when you call an adult childish, has such like a negative connotation, even if it isn't meant in that light, that there's just like a better way to say it. Like even if you were like, oh, maybe they're more nostalgic or something, then childish would work better.
I agree. Superhero movies are mindless.
Oh, now that one's just not even close to being true. That is, they are so good. There is so many layers to them. Talking about Shrek, there's layers like onions. Um, I mean, there's definitely ones that are rushed or that are just so action heavy without character development, without thinking through where this is going. But like there are still moments where you don't have to be into characters or Marvel or whatever to enjoy it. But like for example, in like the whole Avengers like Endgame Infinity War two-part movie, like when those characters were being blinked out of existence and you see poor little Tom Holland in Robert Downey Jr.'s arms, like you cannot tell me you didn't cry. Like nobody can show me they didn't shed at least a single tear. Like there is some moments that are so emotionally charged in those movies, or like in WandaVision, the like TV show. Again, it's a show, so it has like more opportunities for character development. I think in the end, Vision ends up saying something like, because spoiler, he ends up passing again in that show. He's like, something along the lines of, we've said hello a ton of times, like even though we're saying goodbye again, we'll say hello again. It's something like that. And like that's so impactful because you're like, especially like if you do believe in like an afterlife, it's like yes, even though somebody is passing, like you'll see them again if that's what you choose to believe. So yeah, there's just these moments that are so tender if done right, that you can't not think about or relate to, or just be like, oh, I feel for this character. Like that moment is so sad, and then it's just like it's made up. It's not, it's not real, but it's playing on emotions that are very real and moments that can be very real. So yeah.
Okay, those are all very, very good and insightful answers, and I love it. We're going to go into three actresses
Okay.
that Rachel had pointed out. We have Anne Hathaway, Jennifer Aniston, and Sandra Bullock. So we're just going to go through one question for each of them. So for Anne Hathaway, and this is coming from, The Devil Wears Prada and The Princess Diaries, why do we love a makeover story?
Oh, I think it's because everybody, well, one wants to feel pretty. And like the whole point of like the makeover is like taking somebody who I'm not saying is like ugly or unattractive, but maybe like is clearly tired or, like run down. And then it just like spruces them up. It truly is just like as simple as the cliche of like, let me take off your glasses and put you in a dress. And you're just like, oh my God, she's stunning. It's just that feeling of like, oh yeah, like why do people put on makeup? It's like, oh, like I want to feel pretty, even if that doesn't truly make you prettier. It's just that idea of like, oh, I put in a little effort. And so that's why I think people just love a makeover.
It's so true. And I think like my real life story for this would be I work with women who are buying ballroom dance dresses for the first time. And, it's a completely different world, first of all, when you have, you mentioned before about Cher with like her rhinestones and her sequins and her feathers. And that's exactly like what we're talking about here. And I have had women who have like broken down crying, not because they're upset about anything, because they have literally looked in the mirror and said that they have never seen themselves like so beautiful before. And I think it goes right along with the concept of like, this makeover. You tried something new, or like maybe in your head you've always wanted to, but were afraid to. And that is honestly one of my favorite moments of dressing and picking out dresses for these women is like, because they all have their moment where, they look in the mirror and they're like, whoa. And
Yes.
that's honestly one of the reasons why I love doing it is it's like
No, it's
fulfilling in a sense to help these women feel this feeling that they have literally never felt before.
no, it's
So,
so true. That's what I feel like too when again going into like a big dress essentially. Like there are so many women who feel the need to have a very specific like wedding dress, for example. And even if it's impractical, goes out of style because you bought a very certain dress for a certain year you got married or whatever, like most women that I talk to who did care about that, because not everybody does, loves their dress. They loved the way they felt. They loved it so much. Like there's certain women that I talk to who are like getting married now and they're like, I know it's trendy to do a second look at the rehearsal dinner, but then they're like, well, I'm spending all this money on this dress that I love. I'm like, do I do the second look? Like, and then I'm like, well, then that's an opportunity for two dresses you love. But it's just so funny because it goes into like that whole like idea of, again, besides that being a very special day, like what you're wearing is part of that, and then it becomes like so special. Like personally, I would never get rid of my wedding dress. My mom still has her wedding dress, and her and my dad are divorced, so it's like, it goes past the sentimentality of your marriage. For my mom, and then it goes past even the idea, because she bought a very specific dress to a specific time, um, and she doesn't even care if her kids wanted it or not. She's like, you wear what you want, but like this is my dress and I love it, and if you wanted to you could, or if you don't then I'm gonna keep it because it's mine. And then I had the same thought process with my wedding dress, and I bought one that I loved. I knew exactly what I wanted. I tried on other dresses, but got the first one that I knew that I wanted. And then I did do a second dress, and it was mostly because my main dress, it was a big Cinderella style dress, so you might have loved it, but it was very heavy. It was a very heavy dress. Like it did have straps, and when I took it off, like the straps were like, but it was, I didn't even realize it was heavy or uncomfortable when I was in it, until after I took it off, and I was like, oh, I guess this was a heavy dress. And then I wore a fun lace dress for the reception. But yeah, like those moments are just so impactful that I think it just relates to the makeover. Even if it's not like a true makeover that lasts, it's something as simple as like even a haircut or parting your hair differently. That's just like a little refresh.
I love that. So we're going to move into Jennifer Aniston. So why does Rachel Green still influence closets 20 years later?
Okay, I think besides the fact that they chose to, I think, even though she was wearing trendy things for that period, I think there was also a sense of wearing, one, things that fit Jennifer Aniston's body, and then two, they dressed her very like classic. Like there was a lot of like plaids and like, solid colors that were like flattering instead of like flashy, to where like if you think more about Phoebe's style, which was boho, like it comes in and out more than like the more classic silhouettes and trends. And I think that regardless of if people want to copy, like more my Rachel recreates, where I'm trying to pull an exactly inspired look, versus doing more like a reinterpretation, I feel like there's just so many pieces to pull from because the show was also so long. Like it itself probably spanned a decade, you know? So I feel like it's easier to be able to pull from it because since it was over the course of several years, those trends come in and out now. And then now everything's so much faster. The trends just, something that was trending 3 years ago is already back in style to where before maybe it had more like a 10-year gap. Um, but yeah, I think her stuff is just so easy, and they didn't do anything too crazy, too over the top, or if they did, then those aren't the looks that she's even remembered for.
That's true. It's more of the simple chic, like that gives the iconic look. For Sandra Bullock, how do you feel that her roles inspire confidence in women, but they don't lose their warmth?
This one's a hard one. Um, Honestly, I think there's just personally something either about her or about, the roles that like her management team sends her way because she, again, without ever having met her, um, she just feels like the girl next door. Like she has this vibe that doesn't give off like flashy, I'm the main character. Even when she is the main character, she gives this performance that's very grounded, very, like tonally relatable. And even if she's playing, I mentioned Miss Congeniality earlier, she was playing, I think, like either FBI, CIA, some type of agent who was going undercover into like a Miss America type pageant. And that is a very just silly like premise because you have somebody that's like kind of tomboyish doing something very feminine. Um, and she just does it with such relatability while still like having those funny moments, like her iconic like, oh yeah, I just had my makeover, and then she trips like walking to the plane or the car or whatever. And so I think there's just something so endearing about either the way that it's written for her or the way that she portrays it, um, that I think people can just, they're just drawn to like her without it, I don't know, like being over the top, I guess.
I can understand that. I actually shared every now and then I share movie clips that are like stuck in my head on repeat. And I shared it recently of her walking and then she wipes out. And there's
Yes,
just
it's
something about
so funny, so iconic because again, it's playing on that rom-com like spoof that you've seen time and time again of the girl who was just made over who doesn't know how to walk in heels and then is doing so confidently just to then mess up.
very relatable.
So
All right,
really,
we are going to do one more shift in the tone. You also love crime shows.
I
So
do.
we're going to touch a bit on Dexter and the Blacklist. So in terms of just thinking of, menswear and men's fashion for a second. So the concept is Dexter is more blending in and Raymond most definitely is standing out with his style.
Yes.
Do you feel like one of them overall feels more relatable, or do you think just, based on different people having different style, they could be equally relatable?
I think the latter. I think both can be relatable depending who you are. So again, going in with Dexter, and if you don't know the premise is that he's a serial killer. Ooh, spoiler. But he tries to mask essentially like that part of himself, and he has this code, and that's what like the whole show is about. And now that there's like all these like new versions of that, which I'm all here for. I love all the new Dexter. He it's basically a guy who struggles with self-acceptance because he knows what he does isn't normal, isn't right. And so the original show really paints the picture of, you're rooting for this guy who is wrong, who's immoral, etc. But you learn to relate to him. And then they do a really decent job over the course of the seasons to show his character development. Because in the beginning, he was written very cold, very awkward, no like love or connections. And then throughout the show, it like kind of develops like, you know, his connections to people. And he truly just wore everyday average clothes like jeans, t-shirt, jeans, plaid shirt, jeans, long sleeve. Like it was very like of that time in Miami, I think is where it took place, and that's what it is. And now except in his like kill room where it was about sanitation and hiding the evidence and the crime scene and all that. But then nowadays, now that it's taking place, I think there was a spin-off that took place in like Alaska maybe, and then we went into New York. He's still just blending in, and he's found that it's so easy to blend in New York City because nobody pays attention to anybody. And from living there, that's so true. Like I could be on the subway sitting next to a serial killer and I would not know. I also wouldn't have ever looked him in the face. I wouldn't be able to tell you what he looks like. And then that's it. So I think, you know, people that like casual style, like everyday style, could relate to that because you like what you like and you're comfortable. And then on the flip side, the Blacklist is about an FBI agent, and then he is a, I think, ex-military something that becomes like a crime lord, essentially, widely known and is on the FBI's most wanted list. And you would think that his goal would be to then blend in, that, you know, he is in Washington, D.C., primarily is where the show takes place, but really all over the East Coast and a couple international episodes. But you would think that his goal would be to blend in. But he's almost always in a three-piece suit and like a fedora. And you would think, you know, that's not what the average person wears. And you would think that like, oh, that would be noticed on the street if somebody was in that. But honestly, because I think he does it in such a like it's classic cuts. He's not wearing anything super bold. It's like grays, browns, a black three-piece suit. That he does almost blend into the background as well. But if you ever looked at what he's actually wearing, you're like, oh wow, this is a perfectly fitted, tailored suit that looks wonderful on this like a little slightly older than middle-aged guy. And so I think that if somebody is very confident in who they are and they like what they like, which he likes his suits and his hats, then you can wear that confidently and you don't stand out because you're comfortable in it. And so I think that's what like the takeaway is from him.
I definitely can see both sides of that. And I mean, again, being in the ballroom dance industry, you're around people and guys who are in suits all the time. So I feel like sometimes it is just, you know, this is what the person wears, this is what they're most confident in. And yeah, I think that I think if I had to choose like which style I was more drawn to, it would be Raymond's, only because I feel like I like that it stands out. I like the
Yeah.
whole vest concept. Like if you look in my closet, I have matching vests with matching dress pants. Like there's just something about that look that I'm drawn to. But again, I think that a lot of it also plays into how different their characters are
Yeah.
as well. So if anyone hasn't really, took that dive into crime shows, I think that would be something that you would notice right away is they are like two very different shows, even though I guess you would consider them both crime and probably more of a darker side.
Yeah, it's both the same genre, two very, very different shows. Because I know that like NCIS and all those like maybe cop type shows are kind of similar. The Blacklist is so different even from those. Dexter was done so well, and then the new iterations are so much better and so much darker.
So I have to admit the assumptions on this genre
Yeah.
was very interesting.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I decided I'm just going to go with one of them and then I'm going to give you a follow-up question.
Hmm.
So, an assumption about these types of shows is if you love crime shows, people assume you have a dark side.
Mhm.
So, do you think that loving crime shows means you're dark or have a dark side, or maybe you're just curious about human nature or something completely different?
Um, I don't know if like just going from me, I don't know if I necessarily have a dark side. Like there's like this cliche, so you might like this everybody always assumes thing that like there's this saying that like everybody went through like their goth phase or emo phase as a millennial or their grunge phase. I didn't. I didn't go through that. I don't even think I was a very preppy person either. So like I wasn't in those boats. But with like crime shows, I don't think that I have a dark side. I think that my curiosity does lend more to like the human condition and understanding that there really is crime. There really are like these major like Illuminati like type conspiracies out there, and is there any truth to those like type things? I have a lot of like curiosity and fascination. So to me, I think the reason why I like them and I'm drawn to them is because it goes against what maybe my natural like disposition is, and it gives me insights into what maybe somebody else could be thinking or feeling. I do think that I lean, though, because of that thought process. Naturally, I'm a little bit more skeptical, pessimistic. Um, so, like, maybe that could be defined as like a dark side without being like, oh, she's bad. um, but I would say that I lean more that way than optimism. Um, but I just really enjoy like and maybe this is it too, like I enjoy watching the violence because I would never do the violence, so like that's my way of maybe getting it out, is just like, oh yeah, I watched this horrible show with these horrible things happening, and then I'm like, okay, like that was enjoyable, which might be twisted, but I really enjoy it. And then that also goes into like the podcast I listen to are the crime ones. Like I love a good true crime podcast that talks about like each episode is a different serial killer. Those are the ones that I end up listening to. And it's funny because my husband doesn't really care for crime shows too much. That's not his thing, but he likes scary movies, and I won't watch those at all. I won't watch anything that's horror, but yet I love what is probably scarier, which is like a real murder. So I don't know, but I don't think it means that you're dark or that you have a dark side. For me at least, I think I just find like the human condition so interesting because everybody's experiences are so different and everybody's way of thinking is so different that that's just so curious to me.
Yeah, I feel like it sparks curiosity, but that's actually something we have in common, though. I will not watch a horror movie, but I will sit down and watch 8 seasons of The Blacklist. Well, you have already given me so much to add to my watch list. I think I have a lot that I need to get through, and I'm hoping that everyone who tuned in, if you haven't seen some of these movies, maybe this has inspired you to watch them for whatever reason, whether it's the fashion or curiosity. I am going to toss it back to Rachel for a moment so this way she can let you know where you can find her on social media.
Sure. So my primary platform is Instagram, but with that, I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And it's at rachel.cordine. So it is my name. And yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm really excited for everyone to tune in.